They are at the lowest point they could be.
I genuinely think the Eagles robbed them blind.
Is Daniel Jones really the guy who's going to bring you over the top? They're going all in.
Anyway, we're talking about the trade deadline for the NFL.
Yeah, we're talking about the NFL.
Yeah, but there was a lot of huge trades that went on. A lot.
Yep.
The Jets fire sale. The Eagles stealing. We will go into the mini ones, obviously, but those are like the two main ones that are going on. Can you agree?
Yes, definitely. The main one, no matter which way you put it, right, is the Jets. Fire sale. The Jets continue to be ass, and I think they made the best call, honestly, for this deadline, right? These players, Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams, are great players. They really are in their own regard, in their own, specific position. So, but you're clearly not winning with them. And I think in the Jets world, in the Jets mind, they absolutely maximized value for these guys. The reality of the situation is you probably weren't going to win in the next year or two with these guys, so you had to have sold them at their absolute peak. And I think they did, right? The Cowboys giving the Jets for Quinn Williams a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and Mozzie Smith is just unbelievable, right? The Colts giving not one but two first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell for Sauce Gardner. I really don't see... These are deals that other teams call up the Jets, and the Jets simply can't refuse. That's just the reality of the situation. Now, is this going to help the Jets moving forward? It obviously depends on if they are able to hit their picks. That's such a key factor. They're going to have 3 first-round picks next year, and I believe 2 or 3 in 2027. So you have to hit on these picks in order to build your team up from what is most definitely the cellar. They are at the lowest point they could be. They could not be any worse than they are right now. It's not possible. It's really not possible. So what they had to do this deadline was what they did. To absolutely maximize their value for their star players, which they did. Now you got to go out there and hit on picks. I am surprised they didn't trade Breece Hall just because I thought they could have gotten at least maybe a 3rd, 4th round pick for him. But I guess they didn't see the value in getting a 3rd or 4th round pick. So instead, Breece Hall gets to stay in hell for another couple of years until they trade him eventually.
I don't know if you've seen him on Twitter, but that's just hilarious.
It's the reality of the situation because nobody likes to play on a losing team. It's human nature. Whether you're great, good, bad, ugly, nobody wants to play on a team that has 1 win and we're going into week 10 of the NFL season. So it sucks. But at the same time, it's a business. The Jets trade who they are able to trade. The Jets keep who they're able to keep. It's just that simple. So it's going to be interesting to see. I definitely, though, get that being said, the Jets 100% won this deadline. Hands down. No questions asked. And honestly, if you're a New York fan in general, because we haven't won so much in so long, you hope they hit on some of these picks so you get a superstar in New York.
I actually can't. God, it sucks. I do agree with you that they didn't. They maximized on what they could have done. Because there were offers for Breece Hall to get traded. That is a main factor that they did openly say. KC did come and offer them, I think it was a 4th round pick, and they wanted a 3rd. They were stuck on a 3rd, and they didn't want to move in, and I don't think they want to send them to KC either. Because I'm going to be 100%, I don't think anyone wants to trade with KC. That's one thing, but this is the thing that makes, I'm going to go on the other side real quick. The thing that makes no sense to me for the Colts, right? Trading for Sauce Gardner on a down year. He could be playing bad because the Jets are bad, and that's what we're seeing. Sauce Gardner is a good corner. I can't say he's not a good corner. But the matter of the fact is he's having a bad year, and I don't even think he had a good year last year. You gave up 2 first-round picks for him. And you're going to have to pay that motherfucker a lot because he won Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Well, his contract is already in. It's $4,120.
Well, still, isn't it? It's an extension.
Yeah, the Colts will be picking up the entirety of the contract after this year.
So that's going to be. He has to play very, very good for you to keep him. Because don't get me wrong, he's a very good player. But you also have Jonathan Taylor, Pittman, Tyler Warren. You have a lot of stars in your team, and you don't have the cap to hold all these players. So you're going to have to figure it out to reconstruct some contracts.
See, for me, it's not so much the money. It's not so much the player they went after, right, for the Colts. The Colts obviously are a very good team this year, right? They have the number one offensive line in the league. We talked about that in the last podcast. Their offense is clicking on all cylinders. Their defense looks very good, and they needed some corner help, especially with Charvarius Ward going on to IR, right? So Sauce immediately fills a position that they needed, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Sauce is probably one of the best corners in the game, right? His interceptions are definitely down, but teams still don't target him as much because he still is a great pass defender. So nobody's disputing that. The thing that is a little strange to me from a Colts perspective, and I get it. We've talked about this in length. Daniel Jones is having a fantastic year. But this trade basically tells me they're going all in. All in for this year and next year, and they have no issues with giving up first-round picks. My biggest issue is they're going all in with Daniel Jones at the helm. And once again, I want to emphasize this. I have nothing against Daniel Jones, right? He's a great human being. He's a good player. And he's showing that he could be a very good player under the right system and under the right offensive line. But at the same time, I've seen this guy play for the last years. I don't think, personally, and I know a lot of analysts think the same way, is Daniel Jones really the guy who's going to bring you over the top to a Super Bowl, regardless of what the rest of your team looks like? Is he going to beat the Buffalo Bills? Is he going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Is he realistically? He couldn't do it. They couldn't do it this past week. Is he going to beat the Steelers or the Ravens? I just don't see it. I don't see it. So it's just a precarious move on my thought to go all in and put all your chips in the middle with Daniel Jones as your starting quarterback. I thought they would have tried to do this in a year or two, right? With maybe somebody else of better caliber that they're able to sign or somebody else that they're able to draft. But I guess they feel they're in a good enough position. Maybe they feel the AFC is a little bit wide open where they can make this sort of move and propel themselves past some of these, top tier quarterbacks in the AFC. That's the only reason why it's a little weird to me from a Colts perspective.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound so crazy because of what I've started out this year by saying. How I see it is this with them. What they could be seeing, I'm not speaking for them, obviously, is they're looking on the other side of the NFC, and they're looking at the Eagles. They're saying a mediocre quarterback, good defense, good weapons around the quarterback.
Okay. All right. Let's calm down.
Listen, man.
Mediocre.
All right. Above average quarterback. All right. A system quarterback. Agree or disagree?
A great system quarterback.
All right. A great system quarterback. And correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel Jones in this system is playing greater than what he was with the Giants. Yes or no?
Easily.
What I'm saying is this. What they could be doing is saying, all right, they're trying to build up the defense to help out on the defensive front, and Daniel Jones is on the offensive side with Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, Warren, all them. They have solid weapons. I genuinely think what they're trying to do is do the Eagles format and build the offensive line, build the defensive line, and have Daniel Jones in the system for 2 years. That's what I think is going to happen. That's
fine. Look, I get it, right? If you think you have a good enough system to go out there and win, good for you. But at the same time, the Eagles, and this is not discounting the Eagles, right? They're a great Super Bowl. They played great last year, and they're probably one of the better Super Bowl teams in the last 10 years. But the NFC was wide open last year.
Agreed.
After the Eagles, there really wasn't a clear two, especially with all the Lions' injuries. This is a different situation because the Colts are not a clear one. They're not even a clear two. They're not even a clear three. That's where my difference comes into play. Sure, right? You can try and you can try and replicate a perfect world in which the Eagles did, right? Similar offensive line to the Colts, where it's one of the best in the league, right? One of the top tier running backs in JT and Saquon. Very good system quarterback in Daniel Jones, showing in Indy, and then Jalen Hurts in the Eagles, and then a very good defense. I get it. But when you're looking at from a outside looking in perspective, the Eagles were a clear one last year. Clear as day. Nobody can question it. Nobody can rival it. The Colts are not anywhere near that. I don't care about what their record says. They're not better than the Buffalo Bills. They're not better than the Kansas City Chiefs. I would venture to say they're not better than a few other teams in the AFC. I would say they're not better than the Denver Broncos. I would say they're not better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would say they're not better than the Baltimore Ravens, who are below 500. So my point is, I'm not sure this was the right time to put all your chips in the middle. Can it be proven? Can I be proven wrong and a complete moron? Yes, it's been happening before, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again.
Especially,
of course, it was just a precarious situation that I thought maybe wasn't the exact right timing. But at the same time, the NFL is so fast moving. I think they saw an opportunity and they took it.
Yeah, and I will like to see how the Colts are gonna like course through this year and next year. Because say this year they get the 2 seed maybe, and they don't go to the Super Bowl. And next year, possibility Daniel Jones has a shitty year, and they don't even make the playoffs. Now you don't have those 2 first-round picks, and now the Jets have your pick. So it's only going to make what the Jets are hoping for is that Daniel Jones has a shitty year next year. Because this year they're probably, even if they stay the same, they're going to be a middle of the pack pick. But still, 3 picks in the first round is obscene. That's like some Madden franchise shit. We will push aside the fire sale. I want to touch on my team for a second.
Sure.
The Eagles, Howie Roseman. All right. He's like, all right, trade deadline, bitches. Let's trade. Let's trade for some motherfuckers. First, he calls the Ravens. Goes, all right, I want Jay Alexander, a former Pro Bowler. Mind you, he is battling injuries. And I don't even think he liked it in Baltimore, to be honest. So he said, we'll give you I think it was a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick.
It was basically a swap of late round picks. So they gave a 6th round pick. They got back a 7th round pick in Jair.
Pro Bowl player. I'm a very happy person. Then come Monday morning. Very early Monday morning. I mean, this interim GM in Miami was active in the morning. He's like, all right, I want to trade this. I genuinely thought, by the way, I thought the Dolphins were going to clean house. I thought Tua was getting traded. I thought everyone was getting traded. But instead, one player got traded. They ended up trading Jalen Phillips, defensive lineman, who is a young, good star, who the Eagles do plan on signing, for a 3rd round pick. Which I genuinely think the Eagles robbed them blind. Great pick. Great steal that the Eagles got. And then, again, they go on our defensive side and they go to get Michael Carter from the Jets for John Mechie and a 4th round pick.
Yep.
Which I don't mind. Michael Carter is a good corner. But what I'm seeing again is like Howie Roseman's like, all right, I'm not happy with how the team is right now on the defensive front. I'm going to stack the defense. Did I think A.J. Brown was getting traded? Yes. I was expecting Monday morning A.J. Brown to the Patriots. Fuck. Put my phone on D&D. But no one on the offense got traded, even though the offense was struggling. And then we just got new players on the defense and barely gave up anyone.
Yeah, this is another perfect example of Howie Roseman doing what needed to be done, right? The offense, mind you, it hasn't looked great at points this year, but you still have dynamic players. You still have one of the best offensive lines in the league, right? You can't discount A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Jalen. You can't discount these players, especially not to mention Goddard, right? One of the best tight ends in the league. So you didn't really need to do a ton on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense definitely needed work, and they solely focused on the defense this deadline. Good for them. And I think this was another perfect example of Howie Roseman looking out into the NFC and saying, there's no clear one. Same exact situation, right? There are some good teams, but there's no clear one. The Detroit Lions, good team, have definitely faltered since last year, right? Green Bay Packers, good team, have really faltered in weeks where they should have won and they didn't, right? Not to mention just this last week against Carolina, where their offense was non-existent, where their play calling was garbage, right? The Rams look really good this year, but they're having some health issues. The 49ers look really good this year, but we know for a fact the 49ers always have injury woes, right? And then there is absolutely nobody. You can also put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that conversation, but they're dealing with their injuries on the offensive side of the ball to begin with, right? No Godwin, no Mike Evans, even Ibuka is having some injury trouble. So they're having trouble. And there's nobody in the NFC East that even rivals the Eagles. Not even close, right? So they're looking at this playing field and they're saying, we are right in the thick of things. You can even put the Eagles at 1 right now. Truly in the NFC. Truly. So he saw a wide open field and he saw an opportunity and he gave up, a couple third-round picks, couple fourth-round picks, nothing too crazy, right? Who cares about the picks anyway if you're going to make it to the playoffs and the NFC Championship / Super Bowl? Nobody gives a shit, right? Their window, and they know it, is now. Is now. If they suck 5-10 years from now, who gives a shit? Their window's now. If they can win another championship or two, it's all worth it. And I think they saw that to the best of their ability, and they went out there and got some good players. And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, and one thing that can't go unnoticed right now is, there's a possibility for the Eagles to be the first team in 25 years to break that record in the NFC East for a back-to-back division winner.
It would be, which is an unbelievable stat in itself. We spoke about this in the preseason on the podcast, but to think that an NFC East team hasn't repeated the division since, I forget the exact year, it's like 04 or 05, is astonishing. Astonishing. So, yes, that would be a huge feat for the Eagles. I don't personally see anybody in the NFC East rivaling them for that spot, right? We know the Giants ain't doing it. I don't foresee the Cowboys making a run of that nature, right? Their defense just isn't good enough to hold teams. And sure, Dak's having an MVP type year, but it's not good enough. And the Commanders have faltered mightily, especially with the injuries to Jaden Daniels. So this is truly the Eagles' division to lose.
Yeah. A lot of pressure for Eagles fans to see. Because obviously if they do lose, they're going to get shit on. It is what it is. But I will move aside from my team for a second to ask you, do you want to speak about any other crazy trades that caught your eye this offseason? Well, this midseason, I mean.
There was just 2 at the deadline that caught my eye, and both involved wide receivers, right? The Jaguars going out there and get Jacoby Myers. I thought, personally, and you can think maybe different of me, I thought Vegas kind of won out in this trade. Yes, it's only a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick, but you have to remember the Jaguars gave up a 4th and a 6th for a rental. A true rental. Jacoby Myers will be a free agent at the end of this year. Sure, you know what? If you sign him, a 4th and a 6th, who gives a shit? But if he does walk, especially with the Jacksonville Jaguars team, who, let's be real here, they're not going anywhere. They may not even make the playoffs. I get they needed help on the offensive side of the ball. Travis Hunter on the IR, out for at least the next 3 games. Brian Thomas definitely dealing with a couple of ankle issues, but still, this was a little bit of a weird trade for me. I thought the Raiders definitely came out on top with this. Just they were going to lose Jacoby Myers anyway. At least you got a couple of picks for him. And then the other receiver that I wanted to talk about, Shaheed, the boy, Rashid Shaheed, right, on New Orleans getting traded to Seattle. Seattle's another one of those teams where they probably looked at the deadline and said, it's wide open. We could easily make the playoffs here and maybe make a little bit of noise, right? Do I believe in Darnold? No, absolutely not. I don't see them going anywhere. But it is good to have another receiver opposite JSN who could take off some of the pressure of him, right? Because Cooper Kupp, you could see it, he's getting older. He's really not too involved in this offense. So I thought this was a good pick for both sides, right? The Saints got similar to what the Raiders got. They got a 4th and a 5th round pick, which I think is worth it for Seattle, especially because Sheehy's going to be with you for the next couple of years. So I thought the receiver trades in this deadline were pretty interesting.
Yeah, those are two good standout trades. I'm gonna choose one. It's unfortunate for a team that you and me both hate. It's for the Cowboys. Well, it's kind of two in its own. Obviously, the Jets fire sale, they got Quinnen Williams, but then the other side, they got Logan Wilson from the Bengals. I don't get it for the Bengals aspect, maybe because their defense is literally wet sandpaper. Because Logan Wilson is a good middle linebacker, but seeing the Cowboys actually trade seems that maybe they want to try to make a push. Maybe. I don't know. I don't fully know. Maybe they're just going to rely on their team they have with like little additional players on the defensive front, because that's what they've been lacking. With Dak having a good year, they're losing games because they're giving up 40 points.
Yep.
When games they should be winning. But
yep.
I hope that they don't succeed off this trade. I hope this trade fucks them and bites them in the ass. But those are two like little side trades that like got him. Can't go unnoticed. And that does conclude our little trade segments for this. But there's one thing that I want to